What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tirfon Orbital. Very excited to do this demo video today. This is going to be a walkthrough. It'll be a quick demo video and a talk about the install that I did on a camera speeder. I think that is what Phil is calling this. This is the camera speeder. See if that'll focus. There we go. This is the camera speeder from Phil over at Kalymian Customs Sabers. This thing is awesome. This is a very beautiful and unique looking speeder themed hilt with some very cool vintage camera aspects to it. When Phil posted the his work in progress of this project, in the back of my head I was like, man, that'd be a cool hilt to have. It really wasn't the right time for me to add a new hilt into my collection, and finally a few months ago, or a couple of months ago, when Phil was talking about coming to the project, coming to completion, and hilts are almost ready, it was the right time. I knew I wanted to have one, so I got one for myself. This is not mine. This is actually for a customer, this install. But this hilt is really cool looking, right, guys? It is a very awesome looking speeder themed hilt, but we've got this camera, this vintage, I think it's a Let's camera ring up top that Phil has incorporated into the design, and it is still functional, right? So you can depress the switch on this and it will rotate. It's just a really cool looking hilt, and it was a breeze and a pleasure to install on. There's a lot of room in the grip for in this hilt. There's a lot of room for customizations, right? So the customer did get these lit tactile LED switches from Phil as well. Phil sent these along with the hilt. So these have been wired up, so it adds a little bit more to that speeder look of the hilt to have lit switches on the outside. It's just a really great looking hilt. So anyhow, with all that out of the way, we are going to come into Fusion and talk a little bit about the chassis, talk about the install, and then we will, of course, put a battery in it, put a blade in it, do a quick demo, and then we will be on our way, right? So let's come into Fusion. Okay, so here it is, right? This is the Eco chassis that I designed for the camera speeder from Phil Guinness over at Kalymian Customs Sabers, right? So as I mentioned, there's plenty of room on the inside of this grip. So it's just over 28 millimeters. In fact, it might be a little bit bigger than that. Plenty of room for fun, right? So nice, solid chassis. I've got greebly work on both sides of this chassis, and running along the spine, there is a window for a 2020 NeoPixel strip, right? So I've got two trenches down here. One is for my power and speaker leads that will go all the way up into the Proffi chamber, and then that upper one is for a 2020 NeoPixel strip. So essentially I just wire up my NeoPixel strip, slide it up in here, and my leads for that come out in this area here, and around this flip side of that is where my Proffieboard is. I chose to go with a tilted Proffieboard setup for this one, right? So that is where the Proffieboard lives. On the side of the Proffieboard, we have a kill switch, and then again, some greebly work and tube work on both sides of the upper section. All right. These two holes up top it's just to allow for room for those two switches, right? So the two switches that are up top will slide in here and be wired up. Actually, so I wire up my Proffieboard, have my switch leads kind of coiled up in here. Then the entire chassis is slid into the hilt, and then I just fish those switch leads out. For this particular install, there are also, those switches are lit, right? So I've got extra conductors for those LEDs to light those as well. All of that is pulled out through these two holes. And then up top, lit PCB emitter. This is from KR Sabers. The speaker at the bottom here, this is a 28 millimeter Elite speaker from Smuggler's Outpost, right? It is a relatively simple static chassis, but I wanted to add a little bit of extra flair by having that 2020 NeoPixel strip along the spine. Okay. But that's it, right? Let's come up top. All right. All right, so here it is. This is the camera speeder from Phil over at Kalymian Customs Sabers. I always get tongue-tied when I try to say his name, Kalymian Customs Sabers. But anyhow, beautiful hilt, right? So one of the first things that I noticed, other than the unique and awesome looking profile of this hilt, was the machining. The machining on this thing is absolutely gorgeous, right? Everything is very, very beautiful, beautifully finished. The threads are absolute butter. It's just a very, very well-made hilt, okay? So this camera ring up top is still functional. I'm not quite sure how Phil affixed this to the hilt, but it is still functional, right? So if you push in this release lever here, this ring will spin, okay, and lock into place, okay? I thought that was really, really cool. It's like a focus ring, okay? Very, very cool tactile, utilitarian aspect of this hilt, right? Very, very nicely knurled grip. Everything just looks really, really perfect. I love the copper ring up here to give it some contrast against the black and aluminum pieces of the hilt. It's just a great hilt. It's just a really, really awesome looking hilt, okay? So let's talk about this chassis. I'm gonna go ahead and I can't get over how like buttery smooth these threads are, right? Here, excuse me, here's the chassis. All right, so I did this chassis, I printed it in ABS filament. This is the first time that I've used this ABS type of filament with my Bamboo Labs Carbon X1. I really, really like how this came out. It feels incredibly strong, and I still was able to push a little bit of greebly work and detail out of it as well, right? But I'm really, really happy with how this came out. It's like a gunmetal gray. Looks really good in my opinion, right? So, as far as batteries are concerned, this will take an 18650 battery, button top, protected. Negative side is down towards the speaker, so go ahead and put your battery in the battery tray. Hit your kill switch. Okay. All right. This has a 28mm Elite speaker from Smuggler's Outpost at the bottom here. There is that lit NeoPixel strip along the spine. So I have a piece of Mylar in front of that to help with a little bit of diffusion. Okay. Okay. This green button will serve as your aux. The red will serve as your main. Okay. In the config, you've got one blade config for your NeoPixel strip. Both of these are separate blades, so you can animate these however you see fit to you, the customer. And then, of course, you've got your main blade up top. Okay. So once you get your battery in and everything is on, go ahead and thread your grip back in place. And you are good to go. So as far as the config is concerned, because we have that tilted Proffieboard, I have written in the config to change the orientation. So all your twist to activate and everything still works. All right. The config is on the SD card. Okay. And that is it. Let's come down or up top. All right. So there it is. I love these lit switches up top here. I think that looks, it really completes that like speeder look. In fact, I'm probably going to put them on my personal, right? They look really good like that, okay? Great feeling hilt, super solid hilt. Let's go ahead and put a blade in it. All right, so this will take a 1-inch NeoPixel blade. There is an integrated thumb screw here. So another thing that I noticed, like there's just a lot going on in this emitter too, as far as machining is concerned. Right, we've got a lot of work, detail work around the emitter here. The emitter has an inner emitter, just a lot of detail on this guy. There is an integrated thumb screw that will serve as your blade retention. All right, so go ahead and put your blade in, rest it on those PCB pins, tighten your thumb screw, and you are good to go. Great feeling hilt. There are those lit buttons. Look so cool. Really, really cool looking accents there. Okay. See what else we put on here. So this has been set up with the fonts that were included on the SD card with the Proffieboard. So I just went ahead and put those on the config. Okay. All right. What else we got?
I'll never join you. If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Great sounding hilt, man. It's a great hilt all around. One more. Oops. Okay. But that's it. That's the camera speeder from Phil over at Kalymian Custom Props. Great looking hilt. I just love seeing vintage parts being used in builds, right? I love seeing that aspect of custom builds, right? So anyhow, to the customer, thank you very much for your patience, for your support. If anyone has any questions about this particular hilt, the install, or anything really, please do not be a stranger. I will be adding this chassis to my online chassis index if anyone is interested. But other than that, that's all I've got. Thank you for watching. With that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.